Hi guys, so today we're going to talk about buying a home in Kona and the top 5 mistakes that you can avoid when you're coming here and trying to buy a home. So I'm Soraya Lutronel, your Big Island real estate agent, and we're going to get right into it today. So the number one top mistakes, definitely do not do this, is skip the home inspection. Skipping the home inspection is something that I've never advised a client to do, and I luckily haven't had any transactions where we've had to do this. But you always want to do a professional inspection. You want a professional inspector to come in and look at the property and give you some type of information about structural problems, pests, that maybe there's a pest infestation, water damage, or anything like that. And I can give you a little story of something that happened to one of our clients where we walked through the property together. It looked beautiful. You know, they wanted to put in an offer. We put in an offer. We got it accepted. We're under contract. And we couldn't see anything when we walked through the property that seemed, like an issue or anything like that. While the professional inspector was in there, he has a camera that kind of tells him where the potential water damage is. And so he put this camera above the bathroom and barely touched the ceiling of the bathroom, and the whole ceiling fell on him. And that was quite dramatic and something that we absolutely would not have seen coming. And what it ended up being was that there was the central air, it's a condo, the central air blower or compressor or something like that had a pan that was right above the ceiling, and the pan was angled incorrectly, and therefore instead of holding the water, it was angled so that the water was fully dripping onto the drywall. And so for a while, the whole thing was getting soaked and soaked and soaked as people were using the AC in the unit. And that's why the entire thing just collapsed. Luckily, it was a pretty easy fix that was done before closing of the property, and it looked fine. We did another inspection. They didn't see any water spots or anything like that. But those are things that when you're walking through a property, maybe you cannot see it with your own eye, and that's why you need a professional to come in there and do the inspection for you. So definitely do an inspection. Do not ignore that. The second thing that is definitely a top mistake that people do is ignoring local market trends. You need to be very aware about the local market in each different area, each different neighborhood, each different condo complex, because that helps you avoid overpaying for a certain property. You want to make sure that you're aware of comparables. So how much did units around you sell for? How many days were they on the market? And also if they sold for a profit or a loss, right? So sometimes you look at prices and you're thinking, oh, everything looks great, it's wonderful. Yet you realize that, okay, they're all selling for X amount of money, but they all purchased, let's say 2-3 years ago, and all of these sellers are losing money. So you have to think about, okay, what made them drive to the sale to sell at a loss, right? So these are all things that if you have a really good realtor, they're able to advise you and let you know about the big picture market of the local trend, and don't ignore it. Don't think that you know better than your realtor. If you have a good realtor, you should not know better than them. So that's something to keep in mind. I'll give you a little anecdote about this. I had a call from a person that I didn't know, that was referred to me by another client, who said, hey, I want to sell my property. And so I did a full evaluation of the property, and I realized that it was a leasehold property, that they paid the fee in order to change the status from leasehold to fee simple, and then they wanted to sell it at the market price, right? What the properties were selling around them. It was not renovated. There was no big value add that would justify a higher price than the other properties that sold. And so I educated the potential client, the potential seller about this. And I told them, I was like, I do not advise you to sell this property at this time. And the reason for that is because of the amount of investment that they have put into this property did not make sense for them to sell at a loss, especially if they've made such a big investment in the last year in this property. So instead, because it's zoned for short-term vacation rental, I advise them to do short-term vacation rentals until they get their money back, and then they can sell, hopefully, if the market gets better, which everyone is predicting that it is, then they can sell for a profit, but at this time they would be selling at a loss. So this is why you really want to be in the know when you're making big decisions like going from leasehold to fee simple in order to sell. Talk to a real estate agent before you do that and see if there really are incentives there for you to make the type of financial decision in your real estate. They would have been better off if they just sold it as a leasehold, then they would have made a profit. So those are just things to keep in mind. Just try to see the bigger picture. Okay, the third biggest mistake that you can make, please avoid doing this, is there is seasonality in sales and in certain neighborhoods. And there's also new developments. So you have to really have a buyer consultation. So top mistake is you just go on Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, whatever it may be. You think you know everything about the market because you've been watching it for months, right? And you show up and you tell the agent that you found online, hey, I want to buy this property. But because you didn't have a buyer consultation, you didn't talk about your needs, you didn't talk to somebody who's very educated in the market, you didn't realize that there was this perfect neighborhood for you, but the homes only come for sale during X months. And so, or that there's a new construction neighborhood, a new development, or like new things that are coming up that would have been so much better for you had you waited a couple months to purchase those properties instead. Or maybe another thing that's happening a lot right now is because you didn't have a buyer consultation and you didn't really talk about your needs and things like that, you didn't have a realtor that educated you on zoning changes that are upcoming and that are being proposed right now that will affect the value of the property that you're thinking about buying. A perfect example of that is the short-term vacation rental zoning changes that are coming up for single-family homes. And so those are things where some of the people may have, overpaid for certain properties, not knowing about these zoning changes, and now their property may have lost some value because of the zoning changes. So just some things to keep in mind, and maybe if you do a buyer consultation, you will avoid those. So please do one. I really beg you to do one. All right, the fourth thing that you can do, top mistake about buying Kailua-Kona, is underestimated maintenance cost. You really want to get a really good idea about what it takes and how much it costs to live in a different place than maybe you're used to. So the Big Island in general is a tropical climate. We have a lot of different things that you have to overcome and always battle when you own a property here. We have salt air. Salt is super corrosive. It will really chew up, your external ACs, your roof, like all those things. We have tons of humidity, right? It's tropical. Humidity is one issue. And we also have very different pests than a lot of areas on the mainland. So those three things are things that you really want to keep in mind and get quotes for. The other thing is it's really hard to get stuff on the island. We live on an island, so little things that seem very mundane that you may not have thought about may actually be very costly to get here or take a long time. And one thing that I can talk to you about is I had a client who had his heart set on a particular fridge. It was going to make the kitchen just beautiful, fit with everything, and he absolutely wanted to have this custom fridge to come here. Fridge worked perfectly until it didn't, and there was a tiny little filter that he needed, which on the mainland you could just go to any shop and buy it right there off the shelf. But here they didn't have it because most of the people who live here don't have a fridge that's like this one. And so he had to wait 8 months for that piece to be shipped from the mainland. It's kind of funny, but it's also not. It's really not funny. Other things that you may think about as far as maintenance cost that may not be intuitive. Private water is very expensive. It doesn't seem like a big deal because you would think water is just water. Water is not that expensive. But if you live in certain properties like Pu'ulani or the Kohala Coast, or there's certain neighborhoods in Kona that also have a private water, those you do not really have a lot of say in how much it costs. And so I've heard bills as high as $600 a month for private water, depending, of course it all depends on how much you use, but I believe there were a couple and they had a pool and it was like around $600 a month. So you just have to get educated and get estimations every time when you're looking at a property seriously, and you only do this during an inspection period, guys. You can ask the sellers what their current fees are and they can disclose them if they want to, but during an inspection is really the best time to get quotes for everything so that you really get a good idea of what it would cost to live there. And it's the time to do that. That's what it's for. Okay, the fifth biggest mistake when you're looking to buy in Kona is definitely not getting pre-approved. Getting pre-approved for a mortgage, you really need to do this before you purchase the property, before you go shopping. The reason why I usually tell my clients, we're not going to go shopping until you get a pre-approval or you have a really good idea of what your home on the mainland is worth prior to coming here, is because I really don't want my clients to fall in love and set the wrong expectation for what their life will be like in Hawaii. It just breaks my heart to see certain people fall in love with the property and then find out that they can't afford it. And so we were shopping for the wrong type of property, and now it's out of their budget and they're disappointed every time they look at another home because they're always going to compare it to that other one. So getting pre-approved is the perfect way to set the right expectations. And maybe if you're and usually when I shop with people, we shop about 20% above price point and 20% below, because what that does is it helps you get an idea of the value. Here's what a value buyer is. Money isn't everything. Value is what you get. Price is what you pay. And I like to look at what I get, because sometimes maybe I'm looking at a price point that's $800,000. The homes are like small, not exactly what I'm looking for. But if we were to look at maybe $900,000, it gets a little better. The homes are bigger. It will fit exactly my needs. But maybe now we're looking in the 1.1 and it'll be double the square footage as the cheapest price range I was looking at. There's ocean views now, like it opens up way more value in my mind. So that's why I do this with my clients, because I want them to be able to look at the different price point and which one fits their needs perfectly, so that they can schedule or plan to purchase the right property. Because maybe we need to wait a couple months for them to sell another property in order to afford what they want in Hawaii. Or maybe we cut down the price and they realize all the stuff above that is really not what they need. They need something smaller. They need this location, but at least they were able to get educated on the market and those price points. So get pre-approved, because there's no worse feeling than wanting to put an offer in because it's such a hot property and tons of people are excited about it, and you're the last one there because you weren't pre-approved and it takes a while to do all that stuff and get the paperwork in, and now you've missed on the property. So that's why you want to get pre-approved. I hope this video is helpful and you get some ideas of the top 5 mistakes to avoid right here if you're looking to buy in Kailua-Kona. Please subscribe to the channel. I have way more videos about the island, fun things to do, and real estate related stuff. So check it out, and I'll see you on the next one. Aloha!